There are currently white people who doesn't want to associate themselves with anything that has to do with black people. They even started their own city, Orania. They want nothing to do with black people. People who hate you. And you are fine with that. That is fine in your eyes. Then you come and fight Chichi. An innocent girl that never said Fotek to you. An innocent girl that never said fuck off to you. That's your enemy.
So foreigner only means black people. Foreigner only means black people. Huh? What is this? Wang. That boy of yours, Kenukunene, went on that show at Clement when they roasted him there. He said, we want South African names. We don't want what? What is this? What is this?
After seeing this headline, I've been asking myself if a piece of paper makes us South Africans, or is it our shared experiences as compatriots that brings us together?
Dear black people, I think we need to chat. It may not be my place, so forgive me. But I am simply an innocent observer. So I need to tell you this. I always asked, why is Africa the most exploited continent in the world? Have you noticed? There's a statistic that says for every dollar that arrives into Africa, $20 to $50 leaves the continent. Did you know that? Yes, I'm sure you are aware. This is why it frustrates me that when I see this news. It says here, South African model Chidimma Vanessa Onwe, she entered into Miss SA, and the amount of hatred and vitriol she received from other black people, saying no, she cannot enter. She's Nigerian. She cannot be South African. I mean, why? Are you aware of Sherry Wang? She's of Chinese descent, and she's entered the competition, and no one is saying anything. What's that about? I don't know how they did it. I'm referring to every non-African country or organization that have vested financial interest in Africa. I don't know how they did it. But over the years, many of it, decades, maybe even centuries, have convinced you to hate each other more than anyone else. Do you know that even we praise people who steal from African continent? People who live in amazing mansions, who are exploiting workers, and we treat them with more respect than the fellow African. Oh my God. You need to understand that having you in conflict, having you fight each other is in their best interest, because every time you fight, they take your resources under your feet for filthy cheap. They are getting wealthier every single day while you are struggling, while you deserve the wealth that Africa has. If you don't realize that you are one people under this continent, where borders were artificially created by other countries in order to separate you, they convinced you that Zimbabweans and South Africans and Mozambicans are different. They told you that. Until you realize it and rise up, until you acknowledge this problem, we cannot move forward. You know what? Now I realized the future and definitely the prosperity of Africa is in your hands and no one else. But you've got to wake up first.
So today we're going to be talking about the viral Miss South Africa 2024 pageant versus Chidimma versus South Africans versus the diaspora at large at this point. It's a viral, heartbreaking, saddening, eye-opening even, I would say, situation that has been unfolding for quite some days now. And I know some of us might be aware of it, some of us maybe we are not, some of us maybe we've heard of it, but we don't know exactly in details everything about it, hence why I'm making this video right now. So of course I'm going to be filling you guys in. I actually first filmed a video on this situation last week on the 6th of August, but as the days just kept on going by, more things kept on unfolding with the situation. So I thought, you know what, I probably should just take a step back, not edit that video, and watch to see how things, play out till the end before I talk about the situation. So right now is the best time to make the video, because not only is the pageant over and a winner has been crowned, we have that details and we can incorporate it into the video. We also have other details as well as regards to how exactly the entire thing unfolded and why things happened the way they did. And, now we can have a more concise video on the entire situation. So now, without further ado, let's get right into the situation. Let's get right into the video. What happened with the Miss South African pageant 2024? Why did it become a viral case and why is everybody talking about it? I first heard about this situation while I was scrolling on TikTok and I came by this video.
Something awful has happened in South Africa involving South African model Chidimma Vanessa Onwe Adetshina, who is an entrant and actually has become a contestant on Miss South Africa. She has been attacked mercilessly and awfully bullied and insulted by people saying that she's not really South African. Chidimma was born and raised in South Africa. She was raised in Soweto. She was born at Chris Baragwanath Hospital to a South African mother and a Nigerian father, but many South Africans are now saying, based on her appearance and her name, she's not actually South African, even though she quite literally is when you consider being South African is just, are you a citizen of this country? Are you born here, raised here, have a valid ID? Then you're a citizen. She is a citizen. But a lot of people are pointing out that it's not just xenophobia, the fear of the foreigner, it's specifically Afrophobia happening here, because it's the fear and hatred of African immigrants, even though she's not an immigrant, African people in South Africa, tying into conversations that have been stoked up and led by politicians who've now got lots of votes and got elected, that foreigners are coming in and stealing the jobs and committing all the crimes and all this evil stuff, which is overwhelmingly not supported by facts or data. Here's another Miss South Africa contestant. This is her third time entering Miss South Africa. Her name is Sherry Wang. There have been some weird messages and awful messages about her, but not nearly the same level of mass fury and mass vitriol against her being in Miss South Africa at all. And she's a South African citizen. This outrage is very selective. There's very little actual outrage teetering into xenophobia against Europeans coming here, Americans coming to South Africa. But when it is somebody of African parenting, and this outrage is actually so selective and often inconsistent because, for example, Tendai Mtawarira is one of the most beloved and iconic South African rugby players ever, born and raised in Zimbabwe, but a South African citizen. Roger Federer, we love to claim, because I think one of his parents is South African and he was born in Johannesburg, even though meaningfully he's Swiss, and yet Trevor Noah is playing tennis with him and he's being treated like one of South Africa's sons. This is the exact problem when politicians take advantage of immigrants to try and scapegoat why many South Africans' lives remain so awful so long after apartheid. They blame foreigners, immigrants, so that they don't have to take responsibility themselves for their own failings, and they outsource the fury to the most vulnerable, who are often immigrants trying to make it in this country. And this is the consequence of all of that behavior.
Well, yes, like this creator said, Afrophobia and xenophobia is the umbrella term that we can, in summary, use to describe the behavior of the South Africans that acted that way towards Chidimma. Because, yes, not all South Africans feel or believe that she cannot or should not be allowed to participate in the pageant.
She's South African! Leave her!
I still feel like this conversation needs to be narrowed down even more, because there is a very strong, from my observation, a very strong anti-Nigerian sentiment in South Africa. And this anti-Nigerian sentiment, I believe, played a major role as to why Chidimma was treated the way she was, because she's half Nigerian. And this anti-Nigerian sentiment is one that you would find in comment sections across TikTok of people talking about how, oh, she's Nigerian, hence why, or she's partly Nigerian, hence why they cannot accept her, regardless of whether or not she was born in the country. They don't care because she has Nigerian blood in her. I saw a comment that said, oh, they would even take a Lebanese person. As long as it's not Nigerian, they're okay. They would take an Asian person. As long as it's not Nigerian, they are okay. They don't care. They would accept that person. And the reason why I'm highlighting this fact is not because I want to pit us against one another or add more fuel to the fire. No, you guys know I preach unity on here. But I'm highlighting this fact because it's one that needs to be highlighted, and I believe it's a necessary, important context that we need to bring into the conversation.
I don't know how they did it. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So many people say Africa and South Africa is not the same thing. How did this happen? Think about it. We are not the same thing. I met a lady once who said, you know, I'm from South Africa, but I never traveled in Africa. There's already that separation. I think South Africa has been so colonized that we separate ourselves from the continent's identity as a whole. But this is by design, because I want you to listen to this very quickly.
We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. This means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is.
That was Howard Nicholas, an economist, and he's relaying the words, the sentiment that people have outside of Africa. Those are not his personal words, but those are accurate descriptions of how people treat Africa. While you're distracted by other people from other countries within Africa, when you are complaining about culture, religion, what have you, they are busy taking over everything. And if you don't wake up, they'll take even more without your permission. You're going to lose a lot more than a Miss SA title.
Yeah, this is democracy, Baba. This is democracy. South African men and women, grown men and women going on Twitter, tweeting about Miss South Africa. Let's give you a history lesson here. In that Miss South Africa, when it was started by Europeans for Europeans who were in South Africa. So they didn't even include you. That's why even your plus size women are not even there. You are still talking. That thing is racist. Even the definition of beauty is still racist. So I don't even understand why grown men and grown women would focus on what children are doing. Say, Miss South Africa, you are not even going to get a cent. Forget about it. Go and sit down with your xenophobic self. You are trying to hog that, no, it's only for South Africans. Europeans have been entering those things. People who you've never checked white people's fathers and mothers, but because you hate yourself.
But back to the Miss South Africa competition and Chidimma, not too long after, it was discovered that Chidimma's mother stole someone's identity and used that identity to register Chidimma's birth, right? So this tweet says, South Africa's Home Affairs Department says fraud was committed by Chidimma Vanessa Adetshina's mother. Her mother has been accused of stealing a South African woman's identity to register Chidimma's birth. Chidimma was an infant then. Home Affairs is taking legal steps. So because of this, and amongst other things that had been going on, given how the public reacted to her and how she was received, Chidimma had to pull out, no pun intended, from the competition.
As Vanessa Chidimma Adetshina has withdrawn from Miss SA effective immediately. In a statement that she released not so long ago, she stated that in the interest of her safety and her family's safety and well-being, she will be withdrawing from the competition effective immediately and wishes all the other contestants well, which, given everything that has happened, is probably a very wise decision. Wishing her the best with her future endeavors. Mash not potatoes, Pretoria.
After seeing this headline, I've been asking myself if a piece of paper makes us South Africans, or is it our shared experiences as compatriots that brings us together? Because if it's a piece of paper that makes us South Africans, then Abana Bamnyama only started their journey to becoming South Africans in 1986. Until 1986, the past laws basically made it illegal for Abana Bamnyama to exist outside of the townships or the Batustans that they were assigned to. But even the apartheid government was smart enough to recognize they had a skills shortage in the country, and then drew people from Nigeria, Uganda, Ghana, from all over the place to fill those gaps during apartheid. Not to mention the fact that South Africans that were in exile were welcomed by our neighbors on the continent. And yet, this is how we treat one of our own.
That's why personally I'm not very big on nationality. Yes, I know I was born in a landmass that's called and known as Nigeria, and when I go out and I have to fill a piece of paper or someone asks me where you are from, I'm going to say I'm from Nigeria. But am I big on the nationality Nigeria? No. Not just because like I'm aware of the fact that we are not the ones who came up with this arrangement of drawing borders and this separation. Like we did not, it wasn't African people's idea. It was them colonizers that did it. So I'm not very big on this border thing. Hell, the name Nigeria wasn't even given to Nigerians by Nigerians. It wasn't something that we decided on. So I'm not going to be out here on the streets fighting for an identity that my people did not even come up with. My people did not create. This wasn't our idea. So it's for reasons like this not to delve too deep into this right now and deviate from the original topic. Hence why I am not very big on holding these borders and the identities that comes with these borders too tightly, because I'm like, one, it's very unproductive. We don't gain anything from it. It divides us as a people. Two, we don't gain anything from this entire border arrangement. Three, it wasn't our idea. So I don't know why I'll be fighting so much for this thing that does not benefit any one of us in any way, shape, or form. So it's not something that like I hold tightly onto. But that's besides the point. The thing is, my people continentally still not know where they pain them. As we say it in Nigeria, we don't know where our problem is. We are still so fixated on irrelevant matters, things that don't benefit us, to the point where we overlook and we let go unnoticed the things that we are supposed to be paying attention to. Like our scale of preference is so messed up as a people, continentally, globally even, I would say. Because I have to say that it really is very unfortunate. It really is very sad that when you think about the grand scheme of things and where we are as a people, that this is where our people in South Africa chose to put their energy, right? They chose to put their energy in getting rid of an African sister from a competition when there are bigger fish to fry. They could have put their energy in things like, I don't know, maybe getting rid of the white-only towns that they have over there in South Africa. But no, they choose to put their energy in getting rid of a sister from a competition. And by the way, this is not the first time this is happening in South Africa. And just to keep everything 100, you guys know I like to call a spade, and I am very neutral. You people know how I roll on this channel. I'm going to call everybody out. If you deserve to get called out, you are going to get called out. I am not pro one group of people or my people more than the rest. I'm very neutral. I am for all my people, regardless of all the crazy ish that goes down in our communities, right? So apparently, this is not the first time something like this is happening in South Africa, because yes, it has happened before.
In 2023, Melissa Nyamuli, a former Miss South Africa contestant, faced similar backlash because her father is Ugandan and her mother is South African.
I had just made it to the top 16 of Miss South Africa. You know, it was a time of celebration. I was so excited that here I am, I'm a finalist in such a big competition. And literally, as soon after that, I logged onto social media. The first thing I come across is, how dare she enter Miss South Africa? She's not even fully South African, therefore she cannot represent us. One comment that particularly stood out for me, and I do apologize for using this word to those I will offend, and the word is kwerekwere. Foreigners are called kwerekwere in South Africa, and I don't think most people realize how painful that word is, because it is offensive, it is disrespectful, it's derogatory.
Chidimma has said to local media that she feels she's faced black-on-black hate, as there are other contestants of European and South Asian descent who haven't received this level of criticism.
So foreigner only means black people. Foreigner only means black people. Huh? What is this? Wang. That boy of yours, Kenukunene, went on that show at Clement when they roasted him there. He said, we want South African names. We don't want what? What is this? What is this? When I say that your politicians are paid to make you fools, Make you think you're fighting for a worthy cause. What is this? Wow! Chwa, chwa, chwa. You don't even have a single Chinese here as a national what.
Nor is it the first time it's happening on the continent at large, because apparently something like this has happened in Nigeria. So yeah, we have gotten to the point where we are going to be talking about the hypocrisy of Africans.
I had to do some research because I didn't know who Lydia Bolongot was, if that's how you pronounce it. But anyways, this lady was competing for Miss Aura Nigeria in 2023. If I'm not mistaken, I think she won. Some of the Nigerian people did not want her to win. They were boycotting her because they felt like she was not Nigerian enough. She's mixed race, so her mom is Nigerian. I'm not sure where her father is from, but she's not 100% black. So people were boycotting and even sending her death threats. And it is very similar to what's happening now with Miss South Africa. It just goes to show that each country has their problems, both good and bad. All we can do is just hope for the best.
Africans are such hypocrites. And that is the one thing that I have picked up throughout this conversation of Chi-Chi, who should not have been at the center of this conversation, because Miss South Africa as an organization should have known that this was going to happen, hence they needed to prepare themselves accordingly. Instead, they have let this young girl fight for herself. But that aside, Africans are hypocrites. And because we are not clear on where it is that we stand, we tend to use the law at our defense when it is applicable, or we tend to use traditions at our defense when it is beneficial. Yeah, let's speak about the hypocrisy of Africans. And when it is that they feel the law is applicable, and when it is that they feel that culture is applicable in a continent with over 3,000 languages.
So yeah, as you guys can see, it's a very multifaceted situation, multifaceted conversation, and there's so much to put into consideration when having this conversation, so much to look into. And I have to be honest with you guys, there was a point I was like, can I even make this video? Should I make this video? Because I was starting to really wonder if I can really bring forward all the necessary context and opinions and sentiments that needs to be brought into this conversation, all the nuances that's very necessary and cannot be ignored. Because while right now we are focusing on South Africa and what's happening with the recent pageants, the same thing, similar situation happened over here in Nigeria, and who knows, maybe a similar situation has happened in another African country, right? So in this moment we can sit up here and say, oh, the South Africans are this, that, and the third, but like, would we do the same thing? Are we putting into consideration how we would act if the roles were reversed? Are we wondering, oh, how would our people react if we had someone whose both parents are not from the country, but they were born in the country and by birth they are citizens? Would we accept these people, right? And these are questions that even as I film and I'm putting this video together right now, I'm asking myself, I'm wondering, would Nigerians accept this? I mean, right now, Nigerians, we are quick to say, oh, the South Africans this and this, but like, would we accept it though if we were like in the shoes of South Africans? How would we act? Like, this conversation cannot be tabled in a one-sided manner at all, because there is so much to look into, so much to consider if we want to have like a concise conversation and get to the bottom of things, and then come to a conclusion, an agreement of how we would collectively agree to move forward in the future in a more united front. But back to the Miss South Africa competition, for those of us who don't know already, it was a white woman that won, and again that became something else entirely, because now African people are like, oh my goodness, so you guys kicked out an African sister and you crowned a white woman. Because again, bringing into the conversation necessary context, there was this talk that South African people were saying that, oh, they can't relate with Chidimma, she's not ethnically South African and she doesn't even have a South African name, they can't relate with her, she doesn't share their culture. But here we have it now, there is this white woman that won Miss South Africa and she's European, she doesn't have an African name, right? How can they relate with her, right? Because we're talking about relatability with Chidimma.
South Africans, come over here. So this is why y'all didn't want the woman with the Nigerian father representing you, right? Because this is what you wanted. This is the ideal representation of South Africa. This is what Every time a South African looks in the mirror, this is what you see. This is what you see. You swore that you swear that this is a representation of you, to the point that your actual government got involved because they did not want a black woman to represent them, a black woman from Nigeria. This one, your actual government got involved. Your government said, Blackie, go Blackie. Said, come Whitey. I'm doing this with the South African accent because I imagine that's how all of you are. Go Blackie. You, Whitey, come. I love you, my Whitey. Ooh, Whitey, I love you. This is it. This is what y'all wanted, right? So now, I believe every South African is at home right now, just feeling this sense of relief, this sense of happiness. They finally gotten a representative, someone who looks like them, someone who every time they look in the mirror, they reminds them of them, to represent them on the international stage.
I am a proudly South African deaf woman, and I know what it feels like to be excluded. But thanks to the Miss South Africa organization, I have a foot in the world of the included. And
so, South Africa, of all the noise that you are making, this is what it is about. This, Miss South Africa, all the noise that this one, the black one that you are seeing, guys, South Africans, they rejected this lady from contesting as Miss South Africa because they believe that their problem with the lady is that she stole identity. Meanwhile, the lady is born in South Africa. They say the father is Nigerian, whatever the story is all about. They stole identity, whatever it is, that is their problem. And they disqualify her to the level where the government has to have to even step in South Africa. They rejected this lady, this black lady, because she stole identity. But South Africans don't have problem with the white one who stole the land together with the identity. They don't have problem with that. Between these two, this one is a foreigner, the black one is a foreigner, and the white one is South African. South Africans are becoming the weakest link to Africa. The white one is a citizen. The black one is a foreigner. South Africa. This one stole identity and you have problem with it. That one, the white one, stole your land together with the identity. You don't have problem with it. How it has gotten to this level, South Africa. I don't want to say anything because these people, they are so emotional. They start insulting you. Ebana. I don't want problem. But I just want to know. So the white one is a citizen of South Africa and the black one is a foreigner. I just want to know. Are we serious? Fellow Africans, I mean, does this make any sense? These guys who keep disappointing us in Africa. You've got problem with the black one because she stole identity. You have no problem with the white one from stealing the land together with the identity. That is not your problem. Yo. Miawole Doji. Aiko. Well done.
I think I want to end this video on this video from this brother that I came by on TikTok. This brother is a South African and he is not pro the behavior of the South Africans who were against Chidimma participating in the competition. He also said some very interesting things to South African people, and I strongly believe that his video needs to be highlighted, not only because of, you know, how he's not exactly pro the behavior of, you know, how they treated Chidimma, but also because, in a sense, in this particular situation, given how it's unfolded, the voices of the people who were anti-Chidimma and anti-foreigners were very much, you know, highlighted. And because they were so loud, they almost made it seem like everybody in South Africa, all black South Africans, felt the exact same way, when that isn't the case. So I wanted to make sure, you know, I made it a point to highlight other voices that feel differently. While I know, yes, I could not highlight so much voices, which of course, yes, they do exist. And the reason why I couldn't do that is because of time. I want to make sure that I do still highlight those voices, at least some of them, so we can balance out the conversation and have a more concise understanding of exactly what went down and what the different sentiments are.
Then, guys, the other thing that I want to understand, you guys are saying you are protecting South Africa, you are fighting for South Africa. And all those people who are fighting for South Africa. There are currently white people who doesn't want to associate themselves with anything that has to do with black people. They even started their own city, Orania. They don't want you. They want nothing to do with black people. Whether you hate them or you don't hate them, they don't care. But they want nothing to do with black people. South African black people. And you are fine with that. That is fine in your eyes. There are even black people who are defending Orania, saying that black people are very dirty, black people are criminals. That's why those white people want to be alone. You are defending them as a South African black person. You are defending people who hate you. Then you come and fight Chichi, an innocent girl that never said "fuck" to you, an innocent girl that never said "fuck off" to you. That's your enemy. That's now a real enemy to us South Africans. A black person who is progressing in life. A black person who wants something for herself in life. A black person who wants to do better. That's your enemy. But a person who wants to oppress you, a person who wants to see you suffer, a person who wants to see you having nothing at all, that's your favorite person. That's the person that you vote for. That's the person that you want to rule over you. That's the person that you want here next to you. Someone that doesn't want you. Someone that doesn't want to see you. Someone that doesn't want to see next to you. Someone that doesn't want to sit on the same table with you. That's the person that you are vouching for. That's the person that you are fighting for. This one belongs to South Africa. An innocent African who just wants to enjoy her life, who just wants to be successful in life, that person you have a problem with. If we as South Africans were proud, about Africa, we could have said, you know what, we want to see how this thing rolls out. Chichi, she's beautiful. People are saying she's from Nigeria. It's fine. That's what we want in this competition. As long as we have African culture, we are fine. We don't care. You can raise our flag in America, Miss World, as long as you are African. No, here is another story here. As long as you come from Europe, you can raise our flag and go to Miss World for us. You can present us. As long as you come from China, you can present us. Your surname is Chin Chong. You can represent us. That surname, it's not bad. Your surname is Vadi Vloem, what? No, that surname is fine. But if your surname is African, if your surname sounds African, that's a problem now. You don't want that. We can have a European surname, it's fine. We can have a Chinese surname, it's fine. We can have American surname. In Miss SA, we don't have a problem. Those surnames make sense. Those surnames, they are close to us. But when we have a Zimbabwean surname, that's a problem. Those people, they are poor, man. They will make our name. Those people can't represent South Africa. They are poor. You sound like someone that I know. That someone, when you drive a car, even if he doesn't know you, he will greet you. He will greet you like you are a king. He will respect you. But when you are a pedestrian, he doesn't even look at you. And this person doesn't have a car himself. He is disrespecting people like him. When you don't have a car like him, he doesn't respect you. When you have a car and he doesn't have a car, then he respects you. You are his master. And that's the problem that we have as South Africans. But go on, guys. One thing that I want to warn you about, this life, it's a wheel. It turns. We can't predict our future. We can't predict South Africa's future. We don't know by next year if we will be the next Zimbabwe. We don't know by next year if we will be, what is those countries there that are fighting? Palestine. We don't know if by next year we will need to run to Lesotho, or we will need to run to Zimbabwe, or we will need to run to Botswana. We don't know that. And I'm going to tell you something, and it's a secret. When those days comes, when South Africa dies, and we have nothing, nowhere, no place to run to, all the Europeans, they will go back home. At least they have a home to run to. They have somewhere. And they will be protected. When hunger strikes Africa, South Africa, all white people will have place to go to. And we won't have any place to go to. Because the place that we must go to is Lesotho, is Botswana, is Kenya, is Zimbabwe. But because we have been chasing those people away, we have been hating on them, they won't accept us. So the destruction that we are busy building, and it's so sad because it's not going to affect you as an old 50 years. It's not going to affect you as a 40 years old lady. It's going to affect our children that will be born. The generation by then, it won't be us. And our children won't be able to go and run to their neighboring countries. Because you, old South African women and men, messed our kids' future. So when you are hating on these Nigerians, when you are hating on these Zimbabweans, you must think about the future of your children. Because this is what I want for my children. I want to make sure my children are not able to go anywhere in Africa. Check. You must know that. The ones that have money, they will run to America, they will run to Europe. But the ones that are poor and have nothing, they will need to run to Kenya, they will need to run to Zimbabwe, they will need to run to Lesotho. But because you, old people without brains, have messed all that up for them, by hating on our African brothers and sisters, they won't be able to run there. I'm warning you. I'm warning you, Africans. Be aware of what you are doing. Be aware of what you are building now for our future children. Thank you.
But what are your thoughts on all of this? Have you been following this conversation, this situation, or are you just hearing about it for the first time? Let us know down below in the comment section. I try to, as much as I can, make sure that I brought into this video all facets that are and exist on the situation, bringing in all the nuances that is very much or are very much needed. Sorry, pardon my English. It seemed to not want to be working very well at the moment. But yeah, I did try to make sure that I bring in, all the context that's available so that when we're having this conversation, we have all of the details about the situation, at least all that I am aware of, so we better understand what's going on and we can have a more informed conversation around the topic. But if there's any aspect of this conversation that I missed, did not incorporate into this video, which by the way, if that is the case, it will be because I am not aware of that aspect of the conversation. So yeah, if that did happen, if there is anything I missed, please let me know down below in the comment section. Let all of us know down below in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Everyone in this room, and you know what I'm saying, think that because they all come from the same background, they can all work together. But the hatred of each other in those three is greater than their distaste for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we know what you're saying. You don't have to say it anymore. We've been saying it. No one will listen. The hatred we have for each other is more than the dislike we have for you. Like, you notice he didn't even say hatred for us because we don't hate them. We dislike them, but we hate each other.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like.